Today we have a special guest on, Kody Clemens of the Detroit Tigers here on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Locked On Tigers podcast. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. And today we have a special guest, Kody Clemens, here to talk about just whatever. Kody, how you doing?
Doing good. How you doing?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. Well, I think for starters, one of the questions I ask a lot of the dudes that play in Toledo, favorite, whether it's like a sports bar or whatever, favorite place to get food in Toledo?
I mean, there's a bunch of them. I mean, the ones
There
by the
is.
field.
Downtown's nice, man.
You've got Tin Can, which is right there next to the field. People said Chevy's is a really cool place. I haven't been there. They've got some good coffee shops. I go to Matty and Bella or Rust Belt, stuff like that. But I'm actually a big like hibachi guy. So there's a place called Kira Steakhouse, which is like 10 minutes away off of Secor Road, and I actually have enjoyed that place a lot. Yeah.
Okay, I love it. Yeah, no, there's a lot of within like the Mud Hens community, there's just a lot of debate, I guess you would say, over, people take the food opinions down there very seriously. So
Yeah, there's a ton of ballpark food restaurants all around that stadium. So Frickers is always a spot where you can get some late night food. There's a bunch of places, so you can't really go wrong.
Yeah, fair enough. I think we might as well just start at like the college level, because so many people were really excited about like the Tigers taking you and everything, and I remember watching you in Texas, and I remember your draft year and just how much you just like took off, kind of, right? So just talk about maybe the development within your collegiate career, the growth that you had there, and then what led to you ultimately getting drafted.
Yeah, I mean, going to Texas was one of my dreams growing up. Obviously, my dad went there, and my brother was there. So when I got recruited by Augie Garrido, it was something special for me. And to get to go to that university and get a good education, not only that, but also play, really, competitive baseball. It was awesome. I mean, I loved the city. I loved the school. I loved everything about Austin. My first 2 years, they were good. I mean, freshman coming in, got to start. Augie put me at third base. Had a blast playing on that team. Playing under Augie Garrido is obviously something cool to have under your belt. And just had a pretty solid freshman year, nothing crazy. And then going into sophomore year, we had the coaching change with Coach Pierce coming in with his staff. And so that summer I actually had Tommy John.
Right,
so,
I was going to ask you about that later.
So I had Tommy John and ended up DHing the entire year. So that was a little different for me because obviously, growing up, I've nonstop playing the field, never really DH or anything like that. So that was definitely a different experience, but I kind of had the same exact year, statistics wise, my sophomore year. And then going into my junior year, I was like, you know what, I have nothing to lose. Like, I'm going to change my stance up. I'm going to lower my hands, open up a little bit, worked with Coach Allen over there, and just worked on some stuff and just said, F it, I'm going to switch it up, nothing to lose. And it kind of just clicked, and my swing felt really good, had a lot more power just within that swing. I matured as a hitter, had more discipline at the plate, kind of figured out what the pitchers were trying to do to me. Like, I basically just got better. I really did. And luckily it was like the perfect timing for that to happen, that kind of season to happen. And, the Tigers took me, and, I was super excited about it. My family was super excited. And it was, dream come true to play professional baseball.
For sure. I think one of the big things that everyone was super excited about when you were drafted and is still super excited about is just the concept, I guess you would say, of someone that plays the middle infield mostly having that much power and having like that much slug. Is that something that did truly just kind of come along when you did the stance switch, or was
Yeah.
that
I mean,
yeah?
when I remember it was the fall of going into 2018. Um, like we had fall scrimmages and whatnot and all this stuff. And so at Texas, and I was like taking batting practice on the field one day, and I was just messing around with my stance. And I was like, I'm going to lower my hands so that when I load, I get some separation, and they have to come up, get the foot down and just have a smooth path. And in BP, I was kind of smashing some balls and good spin on it. And, they're leaving the yard, and I was like, damn, I might have something going here. And then once I got some success from that swing in the real games, that confidence kind of just the snowball effect happened. And I was, I wasn't getting big headed, but I knew that I was capable of, I don't care who's on the mound.
Yeah, hard
I'm going
not to when you have a 1,200 OPS. Hard not to feel that way.
super
Yeah,
confident, but not overly confident. And I was, going up to the plate with a good, mentality. And I wasn't scared of anybody on the mound. And I was, getting in there. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to do some damage here. And, that confidence is huge. And not only back when I was in college, but also now, you know, if you ever doubt yourself in this game, you're kind of screwed. So it was a great learning experience for me, uh, going through that type of a season, because success and have that success, you can build off of that and try and remember those little key pointers that I had in college, whether that was or mental, and use those at the professional level. So it was
for
a
sure.
must need season.
Yeah, fair. I mean, it was like I said, it was a great one. Obviously, with you talked about the Tommy John, and I was gonna ask about that. Was that a career, like, shifting moment, or was it just something, like, you had to go through and then, like, because I know you played a lot more third, obviously, before the Tommy John and then, played a little bit more second after. Was that, like, a big thing in your career, like, arc? Was the Tommy John a big deal? Or because position players, it's
Yeah,
obviously not as common.
yeah. I mean, when it happened, obviously I was devastated. I didn't know really what I was about to go through. But luckily I did or I tore it in the summer. So I had surgery in August, and I went to Pensacola and got surgery by Dr. Andrews, and he was like, "Listen, like you're a position player. It's not that big of a deal. You're gonna be back in 6 months swinging a bat." In like 8 to 10 months throwing the ball. And I was like, all right. And so I was putting all the math in my head of when the season's going to start, blah, 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 whatever. And like 4 months in, I was recovering really fast. And I started swinging off the tee, and I ended up, I was healthy enough to DH that whole year. And then in the middle of the year, I was ready to go with my arm. And so I did play a little bit of second base in the middle of that season, but we had Brett Boswell at second, who was with the Rockies, and
Yeah, yeah.
he had it was locked down, and there was no reason for us to switch spots or rotate DH or whatever, and so I DH'd the whole year, and it really wasn't. I mean, my arm feels great right now. Like, actually, my junior year, after that season was over, I started at third base, so I played maybe 6 to 8 games in college my junior year at third base. And the reason behind me going to second base was our second baseman was having issues fielding the ball when we were playing LSU at Alex Box at their place. And so he just was having issues. We had a stud third baseman freshman coming in that was a freshman, but he wasn't in the lineup. So Coach Pierce was like, the kid was Ryan Reynolds, Shane Reynolds' kid.
Sure,
And
oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and he got drafted by the Cubs, good friend of
Mhm.
mine. So we got Ryan at third, put me at second, and then took Mason Hibbler and put him in the outfield. and he ended up playing left field like the whole year. But then I stuck at second base the whole year, and then I was just drafted as a second baseman. That's kind of how it went. Yeah.
It's funny when going into school, you don't expect, it's kind of like Torque went through the same thing, right? Like he got drafted as a third baseman and like didn't,
Yeah.
he just didn't even play third. Like that was
Right.
its own thing, I guess. But always weird to hear that on draft night, maybe not expected when you were earlier on in your career.
Right. I mean, I grew up a shortstop, everybody does.
Yeah.
But I played short and third my freshman year, probably half and half, and then I played or DH the whole sophomore year, and then junior year I played, just a couple games at third, and then the rest of the
Right.
games at second. And then once AJ came in, and it was my third year in the organization or fourth year or whatever it was. Um, he took me into his office and he was like, "Hey Kody, like how you doing?" He's a Houston guy, so I've met him
Right.
before.
Yeah.
He plays golf out at Carlton Woods, where my dad and my mom, they're members out there in the Woodlands, and they run into each other all the time and play golf.
Sure.
But anyways, he took me to his office. He's like, "Hey, like, do you play any other positions in second base?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I can play whatever. Like it's not a." And he was like, "Why haven't you been like moved around or anything?" And I was like, no one's ever told me to play anywhere else until you're talking. This is the first
Right.
conversation
Till this
I've had
conversation. Yeah.
about it. Yeah, and so that was last year, and I played. I mean, majority of my games in Toledo were at second base, but I played, I don't know, a handful at first and a handful in right field. And then coming into this year, the first week I played 2 games at third base and the rest of the series in left field. So, like,
Right.
and I didn't even play a game at second. I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm in for another year of let's figure it out. And so, uh, I've been playing. I mean, honestly, it's probably been pretty close to even of playing left field, third base, second base this year out of the, I don't know, 25 games that we've played. But yeah, it's been good. I mean, I'm just trying to rotate around and see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember when the organization like kind of first started making public that like they were going to try you out in the corner outfields a lot more and stuff, and it's it's just so night and day like how this organization was ran like pre AJ Hinch and post AJ Hinch, right?
Yeah,
Like you can very clearly tell like when that happened, um I remember that it excited a lot of people, and especially after they extended scope for whatever a couple of years, and so knowing that you were going to get reps kind of all over the place excited people, because I think that's probably having that versatility has to only help you, right? Like as
right,
far as like path to the majors, like I'm sure getting reps everywhere is can't be a bad thing.
right. Yeah, I mean, AJ loves versatility.
Right.
He's when he was in Houston, he had a ton of guys who just rotated around the field. Um, But I mean, yeah, I mean, it just adds value to me. I'm trying to do whatever I can to crack the lineup. So whether I'm playing first, second, third, left, right, I don't care. I'm trying to get up there as quick as possible and help the team win. And so I'm all for moving around and doing whatever. It was hilarious last year because I only had an infield glove, and then
Right.
I was like, and my brother played for the Blue Jays for a little bit, and now he's playing independent ball in Staten Island, and he plays first base. And so I was like, dude, bro, I need a glove. Send me a glove right now. Like, I got to play first this week. I don't have a glove. So he shipped me one of his first base mitts, and then I ordered an outfield glove, and now I have 5 gloves in my
Yeah,
locker.
right. You just got everything, anything you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. With how has that kind of I guess transition been to the outfield? I mean, I'm sure that's what the first time you've ever played outfield, first time since you were a kid that you've played outfield. Like
Yeah.
how quick of a transition kind of was
I
that?
think the last time I played outfield was like my freshman year of high school. I was playing
Yeah.
shortstop and center field, like just the
Sure.
main 2 positions,
Right.
whatever. And so, I mean, outfield's not hard. Like, you go out there and it's weird because it's quiet. Like, when you're in the
Right.
infield, you're talking to everybody, trying to figure out positioning. Uh, you know, making sure you're in the right spot at certain times in certain situations. And the outfield, it's quiet. If the ball's hit your direction, go catch it. Like it's it's pretty simple out there. Hit the cutoff man. It's about it. Make sure your angles are good. First step. But like coming from middle infield to the outfield, it's like,
Right.
all right, like you're athletic enough to run down the ball. Obviously,
Yeah.
like some guys have more experience out there, so like they know like the spin on the baseball. Like if a lefty's up and he hits one to left field, it's going to be going away from you, and vice versa. So like I just had to learn some positioning and basically go catch the ball.
Fair
Yeah,
enough. No, I think especially, shortstop, like you said, middle infield, shortstop and second, going from like everything within that to, going to right field, I'm sure is a lot, like you said, a lot quieter, I'm sure.
yeah, yeah. It is.
Um, with this last fall, the Tigers put you on the 40 man. Just talk about. I know that that's one step toward the main goal and not like job not finished kind of thing. But talk about what that kind of was like to be just go have that step taken and just know that if something happens or the opportunity is there to then get to like the next level.
Yeah. So I was just in my, it was middle November, so I'm working out. I worked out down at right off I-10 in Houston at a place. Kip Wells has a place, and we had a core group about 6 or 7 guys down there working out. And anyways, one of the guys that I worked out with is also with my agency, Boundary Group, and that's Ford Proctor with the Rays. And he was in the same scenario I was, where it was, his 40-man year, 50 year, whatever.
Right.
And we were both waiting for them to let us know what they're going to do. And so we went and ate lunch with our agent. And what do you know? We sat down and I got a call from Ryan Garco, and he told me that he's put me on the 40 man, and I was super pumped. My agent walked in, gave me a huge hug. Ford comes in and he's about to sit down, and then he gets the phone call, and we got to celebrate
That's cool.
together. Or he got the call a little bit later, but we all were pumped for one another. Super important in our careers, especially. I mean, it shows that the Tigers have faith in me, and they know that I can bring some sort of, you know, bring something to the team. And uh, I love being in this organization. They've treated me great over the past years. But it was awesome. My family was super excited. Obviously, I'm super excited. Um, so yeah, it was a great day.
Yeah, that's cool that you got to share that moment. That's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, that is funny. I think the other thing I really wanted to talk to you about was during the COVID year, you played indie ball in like a I don't want to say pop up, but like quickly kind of thrown together indie ball league. What talk about like the origins of it, like who you played with down there, just like everything about that experience.
Yeah, so I mean, it was weird. So obviously, everybody kind of got screwed by the COVID year where there was no minor league baseball, right?
Yeah.
So everybody had the alternate site, which was about 60 guys from the org. And my best friend is Connor Capel. He's with the Cardinals in AAA right now. And his dad and my dad actually played at Texas together. Mike Capel and Mike played in the big leagues with the Brewers, the Astros, the Cubs, bounced around a little bit. So my dad and Mike are really good friends. And, I grew up with Connor, basically when we were born. He's a year younger than me, but we grew up our whole lives together. And so we've been playing ball together. He was committed to Texas, but he got drafted out of high school to the Indians, or the Guardians now. And then he got traded to the Cardinals. Anyways, um, Connor and I work out together in the off season, and both of us were stuck in the same situation of not being invited to the alternate site. What are we going to do all summer? My dad and Mike got together, and honestly, Mike was talking to my dad pretty hard about like, look, this is like a crucial year for our boys. Like we got to figure something out. Like we had good connections in Sugarland with the Skeeters, the independent ball team,
Yep.
at the time. And they were like, so in the summer, we were working out at the Sugarland field, like, cause we were trying to get outdoors, get on a field,
Sure.
try and hit some BP, do some, running and get out on a field instead of just getting in the cage. And so we were out there a few times, and then Mike was like, listen, like, there's a ton of in the Houston area or the Texas area or, surrounding states. Like, we could easily form a couple teams and just have them be able to play and have live at bats all summer. Like, let's, like, my dad and Mike were bouncing ideas back and forth. And they got with Ryan Posner, who was the GM of the Skeeters, and said, listen, like, y'all aren't playing ball this summer. Is there any way that we could, like, they basically threw the idea out to him and he loved it. He was like, we could get 4 teams, full rosters. They were even talking about housing. They were going to get people in a hotel right down the road, all this stuff. And so, like, out of nowhere, in like 20 days, my dad is telling me, hey, this league's going to happen. We're going to get it done. You guys figure out, like, we got to kind of pick our roster, which was awesome. Like, I
Yeah,
texted all my Texas, the guys I played with at Texas, like David Hamilton, Ryan Reynolds, Zane Gerwitz, like a few Texas guys. Also had like some Tigers guys, like Luke Shirley was a Texas guy,
yeah.
so lived in Texas. So I was like, dude, do you want to play? And he's like, yeah, I'm in. And so, like, we filled our roster, got some pitchers. They basically had like a draft, but they like kind of filled the other rosters, kind of made them whatever. But we had like the overall youngest team. And so there were 4 teams in the league. We played 28 games over 2 months, and we had all the COVID protocols. We got tested, like COVID tested every Sunday or whatever. We had 1 COVID positive the whole summer.
Wow.
And we they had out of state people. They're out of state players. They put them up in a hotel with roommates. Like, it was a really nice hotel, super cool spot over there in Sugarland. We had to share the locker room. So obviously visitors and home locker rooms. We would play, I think it was like, we'd play like Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so, like, we had Mondays and Wednesdays off or something like that. And so each day there would be like a 4:00 game and a 7:30 game.
Oh,
So,
sure.
like, we would play on the same field. Those guys would come into the locker room. You weren't allowed to shower or anything for COVID. So, like, it was like summer ball. It was hilarious. We would go in there. We would all get ready for the game. They would be walking out of the locker room. We would just step right in, get into the lockers, finish the game. You're literally walking out in your jersey, get in your car, go shower, and wash your clothes at home. It was hilarious. But we had a blast with it. I mean, it was cool because my oldest brother, who played 10 years in the minor leagues, he was our coach or our manager.
Oh, that's cool.
So Kobe was our manager, and then my dad kind of just helped out with the pitchers. Mike Capel was the pitching coach. I'm trying to think who else was on our staff. We had a few veteran guys, like Cameron Rupp was on our team. We had
It's a hell of a staff. Let me tell you, like, for an Indy League, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I mean, that's a hell of a staff you got there.
It was awesome. Everybody loved it. Like, we just picked up Jamie Westbrook, right, from the Brewers. He's on the Toledo roster with us.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw, he played in the Constellation League with us, but he was on a different team. And so I was like when he got here, he had like a tank top with the Sugarland Lightning.
Oh, that's hard.
That was their team. And so we started talking about that league like as soon as he got here. And he was like, dude, that was like one of the most fun times I've ever had playing baseball. Like, it was hilarious. And it was cool because at the time the big leagues I guess hadn't started yet. And so at one point we had 4 games televised, and we were the only live baseball in the whole United States at that time. We had live TV coverage for 4 games, and there was no other baseball going on. It was sick.
Yeah, that is sick, and, I mean, with only one, like, COVID positive all year too, like, it's not like anybody
Yeah, like
would've,
we were.
like,
Yeah, it was
gotten
sick.
upset about anything, like, that's super cool, yeah, I remember the fan base, I remember, loved it too, 'cause I forget, I can't give credit to the beat writer, I don't remember which one it was, but somebody on the Tigers beat put out there, like, around when it first started and was like, "Hey, like, Kody, like, didn't get a invite to camp, and, like, he's just going and, like, they just, like, started this, like, Indy League, and everybody was like, 'That's so cool,' and everybody was trying to figure out as much as they could about it, like, I remember it went
Yeah.
over, like, super well within the fan base, yeah.
Well, it was so the roster situation was so weird because I was talking to Dave Littlefield at the time,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Listen, like," I called him and I was like, "If I'm not going to the alternate site, there's this league that we're about to start up. We're gonna play, 30 games or whatever. Can I play? Like, because they have to, release
Right.
me or, whatever, make this contract up." And he was like, "I'll get back to you." And I was like, "All right." And so all four of those teams, all the rosters were full of independent ball players. They were already ready to play and everything. And then there was like maybe like a week and a half before the league was going to start. The all of the head of operations or player development guys with affiliated ball contacted their players that weren't in the alternate site and said, "Hey, there's this league. We're going to let you guys." Is it? Did it pop up?
Yeah, oh, yeah, you're good.
Can you still hear me? Oh, okay. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
why it
can.
said
Can you hear me?
connection issue or something. Um, like a week and a half before the league started, the head of operations of affiliated ball, they contacted all their players that weren't going to the alternate site and said, "Hey, this league, it's called the Constellation Energy League. It's going to start up. We're going to allow you guys to play in it if you want." And so once that kind of happened, it was tough on like my brother and everybody because they had to release and tell those independent ball players like, "Hey, like
Yeah.
we're sorry, but we're about to sign." They basically filled all of the rosters with affiliated players, so the competition was actually really good. Like there were some crazy names in the league. Like the Skeeters team was the oldest, and they had like the Peterson brothers, DJ and
Yep.
Dustin. Um, there was like Scott Cashmere threw a few innings.
Oh, sick.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
Fernando Rodney like threw a
Hell
couple
yeah.
innings. Like there were some crazy names that just came out of nowhere that were like, "Hey, like I want to come play." And so we had like the youngest team, like I said, but we were average age probably like 24, and then the Skeeters team was like average age 30. So like there were a ton of guys that were like that I've been around and were trying to make it back to the big leagues, and um, we were like the young team that were just like it was so fun. It was so fun. But it
That's
was really
super
good
cool.
competition. I faced a ton of left-handed pitchers. It was like there was like 60% of the staffs were left-handed, which was good because I was like, all right, I'll just work on hitting on left-handed pitching this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, especially when, like, getting to face Scotty Kazmir is not a bad way to,
Yeah,
like, go about your
right.
like, your summer program or whatever.
Yeah.
I think the only other question I really got for you is, like we talked about, you're on the 40 man. This season so far in Toledo, you've been killing it, like one of your best seasons since joining the organization. Um, what do you maybe attest to how good of a start you've gotten off to this year? And then looking forward to the rest of the year, what do you where are you trying to keep going? Obviously, probably the big leagues, but what steps are you going to continue to take this season?
Yeah, I mean, April is a tough month for everybody. I mean, especially hitters. Like it's up here in Toledo, the weather
Especially up
isn't
here,
nice.
yeah.
Like it's tough on everybody, so I'm super happy about my month that I had rolling into May here. But yeah, I mean, me and Mel Hughes are hitting code and working on some stuff. Just fixing up my plane a little bit. Um, trying to keep myself, up the middle. I try and stay to the left center part of the field my whole career, but obviously it's a lot harder than it looks when you just hit it right into the shift, right?
Yeah, fair, yeah.
But I've been working really hard, seeing the ball well. There's been a few games where I get a little bit too aggressive, kind of swinging at bad pitches here and there, but overall, when I make contact, it's good contact. But it's been fun. I mean, I'm just here having a blast. We have a great group of guys in the clubhouse. It's feels better. It's not my first rodeo here in Toledo, so I feel kind of established. So I'm super comfortable. Love Lloyd McClendon, our manager.
Lloyd.
That our staff is great too. Like, we have a good group of people in the clubhouse. But yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna keep grinding. I know, hopefully, at some point, I'll get a chance to go up and start my big league career. Would have been pretty cool to do this week back in my hometown, but it's all right. I mean, I know how it goes, so I'm excited just for the rest of the year, and I'm gonna keep going.
Awesome. Well, I think that's all I got. I really appreciate you carving out a few minutes for me. I know you got a big weekend and everything, so appreciate you.
Awesome. Yeah, no worries.
All right, that will do it for our little sit down with Kody Clemens. We will be back tomorrow.